Example 1 for decimals. Add or subtract 17 and 2/10 minus 4 and 39 hundredths. So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite this so I don't get confused about the signs. Remember, subtraction means to add its opposite, so that's plus a negative 4.39, right? I notice that the signs are different, so I have to subtract the two numbers. I'm going to stack those and line up the decimals, remembering to put the larger number on the top. And I notice that I need a placeholder, so I have to add a 0. So now I'm just going to do a regular subtraction. 0 I need to borrow from the 2, make that 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. 1 minus 3 can't do that, so I have to borrow from the 7, make it a 6. 11 minus 3 is 8. Remember to bring the decimals straight down because they all have to line up. 6 minus 4 is 2, and bring down the 1. All right. The 17 is bigger than the 4, so we keep the sign of the 17, which is a positive. So my answer is going to be positive 12.81, or 12 and 81 hundredths. Example 2 for decimals. Multiply negative 4/10 times negative 3 and 75 hundredths. So the first thing I'm going to do is stack these up so I can multiply them. I'm going to put the bigger number on top just to make it a little easier for me. And then I'm just going to multiply. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 2 is 30, carry the 3. 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 3 is 15. So I've done the multiplication without worrying about the decimals. Now I got to put the decimal point back in. And I do that by counting how many numbers are behind the decimal place. In this case, there's 1, 2, 3. So that means there better be 3 numbers behind the decimal place in our answer. So 1, 2, 3 puts it right there. And my answer would be 1.5. All right. Remember, it's a negative times a negative. So that's a positive, and it is a positive, so all we're going to do is circle our answer, and it should be 1 and 5/10. Example 3 for decimals. Find 384 thousandths divided by 24 hundredths. So the first thing I'm going to do is write this as a division problem so we can see it. And then I'm going to move the decimal point in the divisor so it's behind all the way to make it a whole number, right? So that's 2 places. And I have to do the same thing to the dividend, 1, 2 places. And then I'm going to rewrite the problem so I can see it a little clearer. And that's 38.4 now divided by 24, right? So 24 goes into 3 0 times. 24 goes into 38 once. 1 times 24 is 24. Bring that down. 8 minus 4 is 4. 3 minus 2 is 1. Make sure you bring your decimal point up. Bring down the 4. 24 goes into 144, I think 6 times. Let's check that. 6 times 4 is 24, carry the 2, 6 times 2 is 12, 14. So 144, remainder 0, bring the 6. So 384 thousandths divided by 24 hundredths is equal to 1.6. Again, remember that you have to move the decimal point to make it a whole number in the divisor first. And how many places you move that, you have to move it in the dividend as well. And I always rewrite the problem so I don't get confused where the decimal points are. And the decimal point comes straight up. Sentence frame for decimals. Sentence frame number 1. Blank is read as blank. The first blank is a decimal, and the second blank is how you would read it as a decimal. Sentence frame number 2. When you add blank and blank, you must line up the decimal points and it will look like this. So in the first two blanks, you're going to put decimals. In the third blank, you're going to stack the decimals and make sure you line up the decimal points. Sentence frame number 3. When you subtract blank and blank, you must line up the decimal points and it will look like this, blank. Again, in the first two blanks, you're going to put decimals. In the third blank, you're going to stack the decimals again. Make sure you line up the decimal points and make sure you put the larger number on top since it's subtraction. Sentence frame number 4. When you multiply blank and blank, the first number has blank digits behind the decimal point, and the second number has blank digits behind the decimal point. So the answer will have blank digits behind the decimal point. So in the first two blanks, you're going to put decimals. In the third blank, you're going to count how many digits are behind the decimal point of the first number. In the fourth blank, you're going to count how many digits are behind the decimal point in the second number. And in the fifth blank, you're going to count how many digits are behind the decimal point altogether. Sentence frame number 5. When you divide blank by blank, the divisor is blank and has blank digits behind the decimal point. So you will move the decimal point of the dividend blank digits, and the problem will look like blank. So in the first blank, you're going to put a decimal. In the second blank, you're going to put another decimal. The third blank, you're going to tell me which one is the divisor, and then in the fourth blank, how many digits are behind the decimal point in it. In the fifth blank, you're going to tell me how many digits are behind the dividend, and then you're going to show me what it looks like when you divide it in the last blank.